All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Market vibe here today is a 3. We've seen it tick up 1 point, still a neutral signal. It's kind of gone from, here, I'll pull over the admin section here, show it to you. But this is kind of what the market vibe has done. It's gone from 5 to 4 to 5 to 3 to 4 to 3 to 4 to 2 to now 3. And it's just really we're not seeing any real change in the market internals going on out there. But we'll go and look at that a little bit more. I want to talk about the volume element here this afternoon. But let's start off with the challenge testing here. Today entry triggers none here this afternoon. GOLD never triggered, and so there are none here this afternoon with fresh new triggers. So nothing to adjust, nothing to get into. What does that mean? Well, that means that in our one test basket, we're still all cash, and in our 2 shorter-term baskets, we still have Netflix. Now we have a stock exit level of 363 and 331. So let's go take a look at where the stock is. Netflix is at 363. It's at 359, so it's not at its exit territory, and so we're running here with it. Continue to run here with Netflix. So no real changes to make. Very easy, straightforward decisions. Here. With that, earlier today I did do a video talking about the ATR method. That video has been posted and put onto the spreadsheet, so you can come in and click that and find more information there if you so desire. But anyway, that's where the challenge beta is. Right here. I've got a couple questions here today asking when am I going live with this? When am I going live money with this? And I'm hoping sooner than later. I would like to before the beta is over. This last test I'd like to, but this last test here, will end on May 24th. I would love to start the next challenge somewhere around May 5th, May 6th, somewhere in that area, but I don't have an exact date here just yet. There are still just a couple small things need to work out before kind of running here with this, but want to make sure the community is well aware of how this works, how it's going to work, and how it will play out as we go forward. You can access every video recording that we've done on this, on every single trade, on every single setup. When we do go live, trades will be sent out live. You'll get the tweet, you'll get the text, you get the email. There for it. I have put in a couple commonly asked questions. I haven't updated this here in the last couple days. There's a few others that I got to put on there, but everything is here on the sheet. Entry triggers, every test trade here, and I'll be doing a video talking about each one of these categories on this spreadsheet, so that I know some of them. It's like, wait, what is that? Trade entry price, entry price. There's a little bit of confusion in terms of what the exact definitions of some of these categories are. So we'll be going through that here as well. But want to make sure there's a couple weeks of this under the belt, so the community understands. Hey, this is what's going on. This is what's happening, and then we'll go and run with it. I probably will not try to compete with it. To start, I'll just kind of run with it, and I'll be here. I'll jump on. We'll talk about the market, some of the stuff going on out there, and everything else. But eventually I'll jump in and kind of do a Jeff side challenge here and there. Kind of competing against the bot, which needs a name, and I don't know what name for it here just yet. I've had a few suggestions come in. If you have any good suggestions, let me know. But anyway, nothing really to change here with it. Now, as the market has climbed, as the market has gone up over the last while, we have seen the market go up on some pretty microscopic volume. You can see that almost every single day, the volume in the market is below, its average kind of 50-day moving average of volume. It's a very low volume time period for the markets. It's almost a summertime type of feel for the market. And in fact, the last time we saw this low of volume was kind of here end of August, beginning of September. Right kind of in here, we saw some real low volumes like this back here in July. What does low volume mean? Low volume has one meaning and one meaning only. It means there's no change. It means nothing is changing. The environment that is still. And that hasn't changed. What does high volume suggest? High volume suggests the environment is changing. Sometimes there's a little bit of a whipsaw. Right here, we got some pretty heavy volume here at the beginning of March. Suggested the environment was changing. Nope. Right here, we had some pretty heavy volume right here. Suggested the environment is changing. Nope. Those aren't super uncommon, but low volume has one meaning and one meaning only. It just simply means that there's no real change in the environment. Yes, the MACD is starting to cross on down. When do you see a market at a new high with a MACD set to cross down on negative divergence? Haven't seen that in a long time. Oh, wait, until September. We did see it there in September. But overbought in a way that, just haven't been in quite some time. But there's no real change in the market meta going on right here. And you can see each and every day, this thing's just straddling 290. Is where it gapped up, last Friday? And it's just sat here since, right? Market is just absolutely sat here this week. Absolute kind of just flatness in terms of the index. Now, that's the index, right? And one of the things when you look at a market index and you see, we make something and say, wow, there's low volume, it means nothing's really changing. It's for the index. It's for the market as a whole. But inside the market, normally there's some stuff that's going on, right? There's been quite a bit of change here in healthcare, right? In the XLV, in the pharmaceuticals, in this. There's been a pretty big, big change. We saw a huge volume drop yesterday. Big volume reversal here today. It's marking a very important point, right? We see this happen with these pharmas, with these healthcares. They'll mark a very important point. Generally, they'll kind of retest it a few times, but they are filling in a very important level here for the group. If we take a look at the pharmaceutical holders, they're doing something similar. Volumes, not quite the same. This ETF isn't exactly a volume giant, but if we go into the IBB, which definitely has more consistent volumes, we're seeing something very similar there. So we definitely have change going on. What about the industrials, right? They're hitting new highs here. They still very kind of bullish mode for the industrials, led by Honeywell, led by Caterpillar, here today. And the volume, it's not too hot, not too cold. There's not a huge volume to suggest change is happening. And so you look at industrials and you go, nothing is really changing. It is what it is. And, continues to march on. Yeah, we saw a little reversal yesterday. But, not on volume, not on anything significant. And still above that 7. So, low volume has one meaning. And one meaning only. And that's there's just no change. There's just no change. And, sometimes what we'll see is we'll see markets that make a move, right? They'll have a downward move. This is kind of my favorite to play, but they'll have a higher volume downward move, and then they'll have a drift on back. And a lot of times this is where the low volume comes in on this drift back. And what do you know? It's probably going to have a secondary leg down, and you can play that next price action on down. Now, we haven't had a lot of that here of late. But this is something when you look at low volume in the market, a lot of times this is what it is. You'll also see the opposite, where you get this upward tick, and then you get this low volume down, and then, okay, it resumes to new highs, right? We can see that right in here in August, right? Low volume down ticks, just nothing changing, and, continues to go on up. Now, sometimes you do get the high volume downs, right? The high volume down, what's it suggest? It suggests, you know what, the next up is going to get sold into. And, oh, no. It just isn't in this market. Yeah, there are several anomalies going on, several very interesting divergences, but this market just doesn't care. This market is, the absolute Teflon here, and continues to take good news and just kind of rally a little bit. Bad news, sweep it just right under the rug and say, who cares? Who cares? It'll get better later, right? And that isn't changing. So the volume, what's it mean? It means nothing's changing. If you're looking for, we talked about it yesterday. What do you look for if you're looking for that chance to go and short the market aggressively? The number of stocks trading below sevens, right? If you're looking for that, generally you're going to get number of stocks trading below the sevens, and you're going to get some elevated volume. You're not going to get a high volume day. Right, you're not going to get a day where you look at the volumes and they're just monster. What you're going to get is you're just going to get a little uptick in volume, where where something like this right here, where market's down, and it's not super volume, but it's definitely higher than what it's been. You'll notice we haven't had any of that this month, right? We had some of that here in March. We had some of that here in March. And this is a factor that kind of leads to some bear signals that came into the market vibe, right? But, that factor isn't coming in here just yet here in April. It may not, may come in, may not. But, we'll probably see 100 million. If we're going to see a pullback start, we'll probably see 100 million volume day on the downside, just as it's starting. And that's what I would expect that we will see. And until then, market, no real change going on with it. Now, we do have some earnings continuing. In fact, this earnings season, this is the first kind of earnings week here today or this week. We saw Schlumberger here this morning. Very interesting one. I've had a chance to go through it here today. Very interested in, how it applies to Halliburton. But you can see how Halliburton's reversed here today. Schlumberger as well. Big reversal here on their earnings. Some good volumes coming in. We've seen this on several companies, and some of it's been a little bit delayed. Like a J&J, big gap up and try to go, but it's reversing. And so we're seeing some of this come in. It's not, incredibly widespread, but, there's a little nervousness about some of the earnings that are out there. Tomorrow, no real earnings here. Here after the bell here today, we'll have a few earnings, that'll come in, but not a whole lot, Intuitive Surgical, and whatnot there. So, not a heck of a whole lot. Okay. All right, I'm going to pause here for just a moment. My apologies. Give me 30 seconds. Okay, my apologies there. Just want to remind, market is going to be closed tomorrow for Good Friday, right? And that's one of the reasons we don't have earnings here tomorrow. But market will be closed tomorrow. It'll be kind of a long weekend. There's going to be a lot of kind of news that's going to come out, especially political here. But as we get into next week, as we start to kind of look at the economic calendar for next week, it's not a huge week, not something that I look at and go, wow, this is going to be absolutely game changing, or have a lot of different game changing data here. But it'll be one that's going to be driven by earnings. The market's going to have a few days, extra days to kind of digest this first round of earnings here. Then we'll start kicking into more earnings here on Monday. And, we'll start hearing from, the Caterpillars of the world. We'll start hearing from, in fact, let me see if I can pull it up. The 23rd, Tuesday, I believe is, Twitter, Coca-Cola, Verizon. So we're going to start hearing from some companies to see, hey, you know what? We had a pretty good report from Pepsi. Is that industry, or is that just a Pepsi issue? Pepsi doing well. and we'll start to hear from Coke. We'll start to get kind of some secondary confirmations coming in here next week. So, Halliburton on Monday, how does that coincide with what we saw from Schlumberger here today? Facebook, AMD, Microsoft later on next week, Boeing. How does that compare to, how does that compare to Honeywell, Caterpillar? Same difference. So we'll really start to get into it, but generally after this week, of earnings, we start to see the compilation data come out, and normally the data doesn't change, right? We're going to have a lot more earnings. In fact, we don't have most of the earnings out there, but the data is going to be about the same as it is at the end of this week. So very interested to see how it compiles. There's some interesting trends that are starting to form, and we will talk about those, as we get into things, here on Monday. All right. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday. Take care.